Welcome back, everybody. In today's video, we're going to be doing a deep dive into TreVeyon Henderson of the New England Patriots. What are his strengths and weaknesses? How do we think he's best utilized? How does he fit in this offense? What can we expect in fantasy in both the short term and the long term? Watch to the end of this video, and you should have a pretty good idea. TreVeyon Henderson was selected 38th overall by the New England Patriots. Man, this is a fantastic landing spot. You know, he's dealing with Ramondre Stevenson, who had fumbling issues, and they tried really hard to bench this past season. This high-end second-round draft capital is exactly what we want with the running backs. If they can't get that first-round draft capital, we're going to deep dive a little bit into what I think his usage should look like and what we might be able to expect from a schematic standpoint. But I think you should be very high on TreVeyon Henderson. And so I wanted to take a look at second-round running back hit rates from the past 4 seasons, really, 5 seasons, including this year, but we obviously don't know the results yet. And so in 2020, we had DeAndre Swift selected 35th overall. In 5 seasons, he hasn't been an RB1 yet, but he has been an RB2 5 seasons, so it's a 0% RB1 hit rate and a 100% RB2 hit rate. I think you would definitely take this out of TreVeyon Henderson. DeAndre Swift has been always underappreciated, but he still produces for us at an RB2 clip. Then we have Jonathan Taylor selected 41st overall. I think he should have been the first running back selected in that draft class, but what are you going to do? Now, in 5 seasons, he's been an RB1 3 times, has not yet finished as an RB2, so that's a 60% RB1 hit rate and a 0% RB2 hit rate. You would obviously be ecstatic if you got this from TreVeyon Henderson, and I do think he has this upside. Then you have Cam Akers selected 52nd overall in that draft. In 5 seasons, he has neither been an RB1 nor an RB2, so that's a 0% hit rate across the board. He dealt with injury. He was looking very good at the end of his rookie season. It is unfortunate. This just happens sometimes. Then, same draft, we have J.K. Dobbins selected 55th overall. In 5 seasons, he has not been an RB1, but he has been an RB2 twice. So that's a 0% RB1 hit rate and a 40% RB2 hit rate. Obviously, just like with Cam Akers, he's dealt with injury. It is unfortunate. It does happen sometimes. I think he's talented. It just sucks. So you'd hope he doesn't have this kind of career, but at least you got 2 RB2 seasons. Now, in the same draft, A.J. Dillon, for some reason, was selected 62nd overall. I never thought he was that good. I thought he was the CEH of the second round. And so, in 5 seasons, he's been an RB1 0 times, been an RB2 once, so that's a 0% RB1 hit rate and a 20% RB2 hit rate. He's an afterthought now in fantasy. You hope his career doesn't end up like this. Javonte Williams in 2021 selected 35th overall. In 4 seasons, he has not been an RB1, has been an RB2 once. That's a 0% RB1 hit rate, a 25% RB2 hit rate. Just like with some of these other guys, it's been injuries. He's just not the same player anymore. You hope his career isn't like this. Breece Hall selected 36th overall in 2022. In 3 seasons, he's been an RB1 once, an RB2 once, and in the other season, due to injuries, tore his ACL. He was looking like an RB1 for sure. Unfortunately for him, he was not an RB1, so that's a 33% RB1 hit rate and a 33% RB2 hit rate. If Henderson ends up like this, you'd be very happy. Breece Hall is a high-end asset at the running back position, a very talented player. Same draft, Kenneth Walker III was selected 41st overall. In 3 seasons, he has not been an RB1 once, but he's been an RB2 twice. That's a 0% RB1 hit rate and a 66% RB2 hit rate. Now, his issue is he just can't stay healthy, so it's unfortunate, but when he produces, he's very good for us in fantasy. If he was able to stay healthy, he'd probably been an RB1 at least once at this point. James Cook, selected 63rd overall in the same draft. In 3 seasons, has been an RB1 twice, an RB2 0 times. So it's a 66% RB1 hit rate and a 0% RB2 hit rate. If his career ends up like James Cook, you'd be quite happy. And James Cook, to be fair to him, just didn't receive any work in year 1, so that's why he was not an RB1, probably in all 3 seasons, or at the very least an RB2 in his rookie season. Charbonnet in 2023 was selected 52nd overall in the second round. In 2 seasons, he has not been an RB1 nor an RB2. Now, he's obviously behind Kenneth Walker, so it's not really his fault. When he plays, he produces at an elite RB1 clip most of the time, to be honest with you. So it's a 0% hit rate across the board, but that's a little bit more contextual and circumstantial. It's not really his fault. And finally, this past season, we had Jonathan Brooks, who was selected 46th overall. Now, he was coming in with an ACL tear, then he retore his ACL, so injuries once again took him out. So in 1 season, he was not an RB1 nor an RB2. Taking a look at all this data compiled together, 27% of these running backs had at least 1 RB1 season. That's pretty solid for second-round draft capital. Now, 72% had at least 1 RB1/RB2 season. That is fantastic. And now, out of all these seasons combined, 26% of these seasons were RB1 seasons, and 56% of all total seasons were at least as an RB2. That's fantastic. And so while the hit rate isn't quite that of round one running backs, there's a reason these guys are selected in round two. Injuries have certainly decimated a lot of these guys, but there's a lot of upside here with these second round running backs, including TreVeyon Henderson. Now, I wanted to take a look at these team stats for the Patriots from this past season. Now, keep in mind, it is new regime there under Mike Vrabel, so it isn't necessarily quite the same, and there are some upgrades I'm going to get into in a minute here. But this past season, New England's run block rating per PFF was 32nd overall. That is the worst in the league. That's not great. Now, in terms of the rush yards per game this past season, they're 115.8, were 13th, so that's not really that bad, to be honest with you. The rush attempts were 20th most. That's mostly game script, in my opinion. Their defense wasn't good. Gerard Mayo was a disaster at head coach, so not very good there. Their team rush rate of 43.4% was 16th, middle of the road for the league average. Not particularly great. I think it's going to be a lot better this season under a much better coaching regime. In terms of team rushing touchdowns, they're 11 this past season, or 27th. I think that increases drastically with TreVeyon Henderson there. And their success rate of 39.7% was tied for 24th. Not very good either, but once again, there are some upgrades I'm going to get into in a minute. And I think TreVeyon Henderson is by far and away the most talented back they'll have had between this year and this past season. And so, like I mentioned, they did make some acquisitions in free agency, specifically offensive tackle Morgan Moses. Thank goodness. Their offensive line was ranked 34th per PFF. There's only 32 teams. That means 3 backup offensive lines ranked better than their offensive line this past season. Oh my goodness, it was terrible. And so Morgan Moses is going to bring some stability at the offensive tackle position. I think he's a right tackle for them. I think he's going to be once again, a huge upgrade. I think he's going to help in the run game and the passing game. They also signed Garrett Bradbury as well. It definitely helps to have an offensive line that doesn't consist of worse than 32nd overall play. So I think both of these guys are going to bring some stability in the running game and help the running game prosper and hopefully block better than whatever we saw from them this past season. Further looking into the depth chart, this team is so much better than what they trotted out this past season. So like we mentioned earlier, they do have Drake May at quarterback. He has a ton of upside. I definitely think that he weathered the storm well, considering the situation he found himself in this past season as a rookie. So I definitely like him for the long term. Now, running back, they have Ramondre Stevenson. He is more of that power back component, but once again, they tried to bench him multiple times because of his fumbling issues. And the draft pick was made, 2 regimes ago. So this has nothing to do with this current regime under Mike Vrabel. I think that he is going to receive some work as the power back component to the more elusive and upside receiving component that TreVeyon Henderson brings. Antonio Gibson is a nothing burger here as well. TreVeyon Henderson has the most talent and the best draft capital among all these players. And once again, he was the pick made by this regime. Wide receiver 1, we have a 31-year-old Stephon Diggs coming off of an ACL tear. We'll see if he amounts to anything. If anything, hey, it's better than anything they had this past season in terms of the potential upside, right? Then they do have Demario Douglas to man the slot. I don't think he's going to be anything particularly special. I think he's a fine kind of gadget player, slot only. Kyle Williams is selected at the top of the 3rd round. I really like him. He's a rookie as well. I think he is going to bring a vastly different component to this offense than they've had in years past. He's great with the ball in his hands. I think he has absolute positional versatility, and I think he's going to help create some room for TreVeyon Henderson as a vertical threat at the very least. Then, they have Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper at tight end. It's a fine 1-2 punch. Definitely nothing special, but fine and good to have at least some other assets in the passing game to take some of the heat in terms of stacked boxes away from Henderson. Now, 4th overall, they selected Will Campbell to be their left tackle. I really like this guy. Worst case scenario, if his arm length does prove to be an issue, he's going to be a Pro Bowl level left guard or right guard, in my opinion. Robinson isn't particularly great. Bradbury's fine. Once again, it's a huge upgrade over what they trotted out this past season. Owenu's okay as well. And Morgan Moses, once again, is a significant upgrade at right tackle. I think the tackle duo is going to help out this offensive line as well as Bradbury in the middle. The blocking probably isn't going to be ideal, but it's fine. And I think he's going to receive a good amount of receiving and rushing work. And I think he is going to be featured in this offense for the most part in the ways we care about, which is along the goal line and then the receiving game. And I think there's a ton of upside with TreVeyon Henderson in this offense, as in my opinion, the premier playmaker here in this offense. And I want to give a special shout out to my Patreon members. Thank you to Big Hunt, SP, Mage Jack, and Infamy MTG. If you would like to become a Patreon member, the link's going to be below in the comment section. There we're going to have weekly live streams where we go over, fantasy news, potential buy low candidates, sell high candidates, depending on the news. We're going to give you specific league-oriented roster construction with trade advice based on your specific league settings there. We're going to give you access to early videos. We're going to give you the ability to suggest videos as well. I made a private video for someone on Isaac Rendo, some of the pluses, minuses to his game, things to like, and specific price points to sell or buy for. You're also going to find that we are working on a model with predictive capability for running backs, quarterbacks, tight ends, and wide receivers based on a variety of specific metrics, minimums and maximums to be in an acceptable range for us in fantasy that will be predictive and lead us to being able to be more successful, we think, than the average person in determining which prospects based on these thresholds are likely to hit or unlikely to hit. And we're also going to be updating that each and every single year with the new prospects so that we can continuously have the best model possible. So once again, if you'd like to become a member, the link's going to be below in the comment section. Thanks. Now, let's talk about his fit in this offense specifically. So one thing I found interesting, right, is per TreVeyon Henderson, he said that he never talked to Mike Vrabel prior to being drafted. So he was pretty surprised by the selection. A quote from him: "No, I don't recall having a meeting with him. Yeah, no, it was honestly a surprise for sure." Well, I probably think they just didn't want anybody knowing that they were going after TreVeyon Henderson, and for good reason. He's a fantastic running back prospect. They clearly like him to select him at the top of the second round, barely missing out on first round draft capital. I think he's going to be utilized early and often in a committee, which is going to be great for him due to his size and durability limitations, but once again, high-end skill set. Now, I took a look at Las Vegas from 2023 because this is a Josh McDaniels offense. He's going to be the offensive coordinator under Vrabel. And so in terms of gap runs and zone runs, under Josh McDaniels in 2023, Las Vegas had 167 gap runs, which was a 51% clip, against 161 zone runs, which is a 49% clip. Well, in 2024 at Ohio State, Henderson had 77 gap runs, which was 55% of his production, and 64 zone runs, which was 45% of his production. So relatively close to the same. Henderson's a good zone and gap runner. I think he can fit in any system, and he has the receiving upside to not only be a good fit in the receiving game, but once again, a fantastic asset in terms of the versatility he brings on the ground. This is a match made in heaven. Moving on to some advanced stats regarding Henderson, I took a look at FBS running backs that were draft eligible in this draft class with at least 100 rush attempts. That was a sample size of 72 players here. This past season, Henderson received 145 attempts. Remember that he was in a committee with Quinshon Judkins, which I think helped out both of these backs. So as far as Henderson is concerned, you should be wowed but not surprised by some of these advanced stats. His yards per attempt of 7.0 was first among the sample size. He is that good with the ball in his hands. This guy is lethal, explosive. His yak per attempt of 4.43 was third in the sample size. So not only is he efficient, he is good after contact, and it shows up on film consistently. Taking a look at his breakaway run percentage, his 53.9% was fifth. That's runs of 15 or more yards. That is how dangerous this guy is with the ball in his hands. He does not need the traditional 25 carries a game to put up massive production. Looking at his PFF rushing grade, his 91.8 was fourth in the sample size. I think he's probably better than fourth, in my opinion, as a pure rusher in this class, but I definitely agree here with PFF. I don't always agree with their grades, but here I definitely think they're pretty close. His PFF receiving grade of 75.1 was seventh in the sample size. He is a very, very good receiving back and will be used as such in this offense as a rookie. His yards per route run of 1.18 was tied for 17th. He did split work with Quinshon Judkins. I think he's very efficient in the receiving game, so I think that's not going to. I think that if that's the worst in terms of the sample size ranking here, that says a lot about how talented he is. His elusiveness rating of 108.9 was good for 15th in the sample size. He's incredibly elusive. Now, his missed tackles forced of 37 was only 33rd, tied for 33rd in the sample size of 72. But that's more of a limited workload thing rather than him just not forcing missed tackles. Because his .26 missed tackles forced per attempt is very, very high. Looking at his rushing yards and rushing yards per game, his 1,070 is fine on a split workload at 66.9 per game. His receiving yards of 281 is great when you can contextualize it with him working with Judkins at 17.6 per game, and he had 11 total touchdowns. Overall, this guy is going to make up for the lack of total volume with ridiculous efficiency because he is that talented in both the rushing game and the receiving game. And by the way, I didn't mention yet, he is the best pass blocker in this class of running backs. So you want to talk about a true 3-down skill set? This guy is the epitome of a 3-down skill set. And before I wrap things up, I wanted to take a look at a couple of things here. So remember, TreVeyon Henderson is New England's draft pick, 38th overall. So he's 5'10", 202 pounds. That is under the 30.0 threshold to be a bell cow back, but we don't want him to be a bell cow back because of this. So I think it's still a good BMI, but not, great or elite necessarily. Now, he is a senior, but early declare doesn't really matter as much in the past with correlation between success at the NFL level. Early declare versus late declares, we don't care. NFL draft capital is great, not quite elite, being a high-end second-round draft pick, but that is great. He is going to be utilized. They want a return on their investment. He's going to be fine. My comp for him was Reggie Bush, who, was one of the best collegiate backs we've ever seen. He just wasn't used to his strengths and wasn't quite as successful at the NFL level. I think he was ahead of his time and too far ahead of his time for his own good. In today's day and age, I think he would be your Alvin Kamara, your Jahmyr Gibbs, in terms of production for us in fantasy. So I think that in today's day and age, he is a type of running back that we want. My official grade was an 88.5 out of 100, which is a high-end great running back prospect. He has great athleticism, incredible skills, and he is going to be one of the most efficient backs in the NFL. In terms of his athleticism, when you think about the best running backs, they're almost all exclusively not only great athletes, but elite athletes, even by NFL standards. Rare exceptions are players like Kyren Williams and Bucky Irving, although Bucky Irving, his real issue is just he doesn't have the long speed. The agility, change of direction, vision, all of that is there with him. But as far as Henderson is concerned, his 4.43 40-yard dash, it was 92nd percentile. I would say he's more quick than fast, but he's still plenty fast by himself, and he can take the ball to the house from 70 yards out, even at the NFL level, no worries. Now, because he's 5'10", 202 pounds with under a 30.0 BMI, he still has a great speed score of 104.9, which is 81st percentile. That's fantastic. His burst score of 129.5 is 91st percentile. He gets going quickly. He has a pretty good top speed. He's going to be dangerous in the receiving game. And remember, he is, in my opinion at least, the best pass protecting running back in the class. He's going to help out Drake May. I think he sees work on all 3 downs, 4 downs potentially. And I think he's going to hit. In terms of where I think he should be going and what you can expect from him, I think that you can expect RB1, probably mid to low end RB1 production throughout the duration of his rookie contract, potentially even later on. I think in dynasty rookie drafts, in terms of superflex, he should be going in your 102 to 105 range, depending on team need. In your 1 QB drafts, I think he should be going with a top 3 to 4 pick, once again, depending on need, because Cam Ward in a 1 QB wouldn't be going top 5 and shouldn't. And in terms of redraft, I think he's probably, in that 5th to 7th round range. I think you should probably want to have another 1 to 2 starting running backs that you feel comfortable with, but I think he has the ability and skill set to be a mid to low end RB1 immediately. And hopefully he has a long NFL career. I think he's really talented. So once again, if you like what you've seen and heard, feel free to like and subscribe. Feel free to check out my Patreon. I'd really appreciate it. And thanks, and have a good day.